Welcome back to Season 2, Quick Chat in the Cadillac. My name is SG. I like to explore the simplicity of complexity. If you don't know, this is my show where I break it down for you both real and quick. Season 2 is available if you go on my TikTok or my YouTube. But if you go to my TikTok, you'll have to scroll through and find that shit your lazy ass self. I know you don't want to do that. So just go to my YouTube, SG space Bubba space K. On there, I have it all organized by episode number and season in the playlist. So check my playlist. Go watch every single episode if you have to. Fuck it, the whole series. It'll get your life right. Today I got a story for y'all, but it ain't about the sensei and the young bull. No, this is a different story entirely. But sit back and let me tell you how it goes. This is a story of a village. You see, it's a normal village. I mean, pretty normal. They all had huts and shit. They lived off the land. They grew their own food, and they stored it away during the winter. And this village was comprised of diversity and different individuals. They, of course, had miscreants and nincompoops and shit like that, but they also had families, children, husbands, wives, warriors, witch doctors, and they had two individuals in particular that we will be talking about today. You see, in this story, the two individuals we need to know are RainNose and the Elder. RainNose was a young boy, and they called him RainNose because his head was always up in the clouds so motherfucking much. And the Elder was the wisest of all the folk in the village. Okay, he was the one that everyone went to for advice, and oftentimes, even though he really didn't care much to be looked this way, but he was looked at as the leader. One day, RainNose was like, man, I've had enough. So he goes to the Elder, he says, Elder, you remember me? My name's RainNose. They call me that because my head's always in the clouds, they say. The Elder looked at RainNose, he said, bitch, I know I gave you that name. What you want? And RainNose said, Elder, listen, I just want to know, how can I get my heads up in the clouds? Because I just don't seem to find happiness anywhere else. I like to be up in the clouds. That's my favorite thing to do. And why is it so hard for me to find peace, happiness, and joy when my head's always up in the clouds? He said, listen, son. Listen, the Elder said, the reason that you have all these troubles finding happiness, peace, and joy because your head's in the clouds, there ain't nothing super wrong with that. But the problem is you don't listen to the wind. RainNose said, what? I don't listen to the wind? What the fuck? What the fuck type of mystical shit is that? The Elder said, shh, listen to the wind. Now, about this time, one of the miscreants in the village had lit a bonfire, and him and his buddies, they were over there drinking grape wine or some shit that they had in a gourd. They got all drunk, they were dancing around the fire, and they fell their ass asleep. But it was dry season, you see. The rain had came in the summer, but it wasn't a lot. Now it's fall. So everybody's, watching as the leaves fall and hit the ground. They're all crinkly, and all the trees is looking dead as hell, and actually a little more gray than they thought. The crops had died off if they hadn't been harvested. And so that fire was just chilling in a bunch of, essentially, fuel. Well, right when the Elder had told RainNose, listen to the wind, a huge gust of wind picked up out of nowhere, whoosh, and it started spreading that fire across the land, and within minutes, the entire village was engulfed in flames. The entire village was burnt down to the motherfucking ground. Everything that these people had worked to create and gather, for the most part, gone, ashes. And the Elder and RainNose had seen this shit happen right after the Elder had said that. The Elder looked like he didn't give a fuck. The RainNose was mortified. He was like, what the fuck? You just told me to listen to the wind. The wind just done burnt down our whole fucking village. What type of shit is that? How is that good advice? How's that supposed to make me happy? The Elder said, you still not listening to the wind. Come back when you can hear the wind. So RainNose said, fuck this shit, I ain't never coming back. He went back into the village where all the town folks were. Now, most of everybody had survived, and though they were grieving, they went into survival mode. So they had to go and find any little thing that they could scavenge, because winter season was coming, and they ain't have no food now, for the most part. They might have had a couple fruits and berries here and there that somehow survived the fire. So they went and gathered it up, gathered each other, healed and tended to their wounds, and then they put everything that they had in the middle of the town hall. Well, the Elder was walking up behind it, and as RainNose had helped everyone kind of gather everything, he went up to the Elder. He said, look, I don't know what type of cuckoo shit you're on, but these people need your voice right now, Elder. We need some advice. So the Elder walked to the middle of the village, and all the people had gathered around, and he said, I need your attention. There's one way that we're going to get out of this. We need to listen to the wind. Everybody was like, this nigga is crazy. He done lost it. That fire must have did something in his brain watching all this shit burn down, because he's fucking nuts. So all types of whispers and hush, goes around, and people are starting to look concerned and act concerned, and the elder says, quiet! Everybody goes silent, and all of a sudden in the distance they hear, won't you know it, another village done seen all the smoke from the fire, and they done came over on some fucking horses. And when they got there, in their arms was enough rations where, if carefully, and everybody got a little thinner and lost some weight, if carefully used, they could survive through winter. Fruits and wheats and barley and all types of shit. So everyone was looking around, feeling like they were safe, but they also had a bag. And it looked like a bag of what would be seeds in it. Okay, and they spoke and they said, hey, we saw the fire, and when we got on the horizon, we saw that your village was burnt down, so we went back. And we got some rations for y'all, because our harvest was very bountiful this year. It was plentiful this year. The elder said, thank you. We appreciate that. What must we do in order to make sure that we survive the winter? And everyone looked, and they turned to the folks on the horses carrying what looked like, the med kit that would save their life. The people from the other village, they were very wise. They had been there centuries, eons. And so they told him, listen, we brought you enough food that if rationed carefully, you could survive. And we also brought this bag of seeds. One of the miscreants was still a little drunk, so he piped up, he said, seeds? Bitch, it's fall. It's about to freeze over. What the fuck is we gonna do with some seeds? We might as well, what the hell is you talking about? So the people in the village, they said, listen, you need to trust us. We need you to take this bag of seeds, and we need you to pour it into a basket. You got to make this basket with holes just barely small enough for the seeds to fit in. And then we need you to build something very tall, almost so that it reaches to the clouds, and place this bag on top of that something. And we was like, what the fuck? This is some dumb cuckoo god shit. We don't worship the same shit as you. Why we got to put the seeds up all the way up in the air? The elder said, listen, these folks came here to save us. Y'all need to shut the fuck up and listen to the motherfucking wind and these nice folks who just brought us a winter's worth of food. So everybody, they didn't want to listen, but they did. They did. So they took the food, they put it in a safe spot. They used the remaining twigs they could find just lying around that hadn't completely burnt up to build this basket. And each of the holes in the basket were just barely small, too small for the motherfucking seeds. And they put all the seeds in this basket, and then RainNose, since he liked having his heads in the clouds, he built a structure to put the seeds on top of. And by the time he finished, it was just barely about to be winter. And he put the seeds on top there, took a moment in the clouds to look around, and he said, man, I always thought I'd be happier with my head up here, but right now, I just don't know what the fuck's going on. Well, the winter passed, okay? The winter passed. And the winds and the nights, it was cold and frozen. The wind was blowing the whole fucking time. And in the back of RainNose's mind, he just kept thinking about what the elder had kept saying about, listen to the wind. See, the elder hadn't spoke to the town folk since the people from the other village had arrived and left. And now, everybody was like, man, the elder lost it. He ain't a leader. He just a cuckoo motherfucker now. That fire done broke him. They done broke his brain. Until spring rolled around. You see, spring rolled around and the rain came. And what people began to notice as they finished up the rest of the last season's harvest is that it was all different types of plants. Shit that had never grown before, and it was growing everywhere. It wasn't no organization, no rows. It was just, you couldn't walk 2 feet without stepping on a fresh fruit. You could have walked 2 feet in the other direction without stepping on a fresh batch of wheat or barley or grains and oats. And they was all kind of confused. Like, what the fuck? What just happened? But RainNose had figured something out. So he went back to the elder. He said, Elder. And the elder said, what? He said, I could hear the wind. He said, you can hear the wind, prove it to me. Then RainNose began to explain. He explained how he heard the roars of destruction come across the land when that wind had spread the fire and burnt everything they loved and knew down to the ground. Then he heard the whispers of hope and confusion when the people from the other village came and they brought rations for the winter, and they instructed them on how to use the bag of seeds that they had brought. Then he heard the silence and stillness of patience while the things around them were taking place and taking effect, and they were surviving off the rations that they had during the freeze, during the winter season. Lastly, RainNose explained how he heard the breeze of joy wash across the town, the wonderment that fulfilled and explained exactly what the wind was trying to tell you. RainNose says, the wind told me the value of presence, the value of gratitude, the value of patience, and then it showed us the bounty that comes when the seasons change and life takes a new direction. The elder says, and so you learned to listen to the wind.